Sup, homies? My name is Mike S, and today we're going to get to the heart of what powers OpenClaw. We're going to have a deep dive into the agentic loop. We'll talk a little about the economy forming around OpenClaw. I'm going to do this all in under 5 minutes, so let's get started. And homies, that title is not clickbait. Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang said that OpenClaw is probably the most important software release ever. All right, so I've got OpenClaw up here. Let's do something cool here, and I'll just show you one of the integrations, and we'll talk a little bit more about the specifics that I want to get into, but here we go. Post to Discord Miss channel. Sup, YouTube. Not long after, you'll hear the familiar Discord beep, and of course, there's our Vampy bot showing the message that we sent from OpenClaw. Now, that doesn't even come close to encapsulating what's possible with OpenClaw, but just as a quick demo, you can get an agent up and ready quite quickly with OpenClaw that integrates with WhatsApp, Discord, and a wide selection of services. You also will notice real quick with OpenClaw that you can manage a lot of the applications on your computer. All right, let me give you what you guys came for here. What you're looking at is an instance of OpenClaw built from source. So the reason I did this is to add in real time some changes such that I could trace a message as it's resolved through OpenClaw. And the reason I did this is I was incredibly curious exactly what was at the heart of OpenClaw as it relates to the agentic loop. And so you can see here, I messaged, hey, and instead of the message being resolved, I have an alert here that says processing. And this is an essential first step to get to the heart. How many licks does it take to get to the center of OpenClaw? Well, just one. I'm going to show you exactly how this SDK is used in OpenClaw, but this is it. It's called Pi Mono. It's managed by a gentleman named Mario, or created at least. And it's from this SDK imported into OpenClaw that allows the agent to resolve prompts from the user. All right, so deep in the heart, deep in the source code here, we're in the file called attempt.ts in OpenClaw's source code. You can see that SDK I just showed you, the so-called heart. An agent session is actually instantiated in this file and simply imported from Mario Zechner's repo. And we can show you one little bit here. So as a message is resolved, in this case, hello, or whatever I said to OpenClaw, it progresses through the code towards resolution. And its first stop is the imported SDK session, create agent. And you can see some of the features or attributes that are necessary to instantiate a session. I think maybe one of the interesting ones is the resolved workspace, because OpenClaw allows you to designate a certain portion of your setup to different agents. So I want to talk a little bit about the tools because I find it quite interesting. But have a look at, this is again the OpenClaw source code, have a look at just how many files are inside the agent directory. I mean, I think it's kind of self-evident that when you use OpenClaw, it's configured for so much out of the box. But until you look at the source code, it's just kind of mind-boggling the degree to which he's provided integrations for Hugging Face. What's just a wide cross-section of services. And the one I really wanted to pay attention to is the tools, because you'll find that the tools are essential. That is kind of the main driver. These aren't custom agentic workflows. Instead, we're relying on this MonoPy repo and tools to be able to resolve any prompts or inquiries we have with the agent. But some of these tools are quite cool. Yeah, so the tools I wanted to showcase, this is going to be like the who's who of agentic tools. We have here in the web search core inside the source code, we have Brave, which of course recently raised, I believe, $250 million to this date. Not to be undone, inside another tool here, another who's who of agentic tools makes an appearance. In this case, Firecrawl. If you don't know, I've done a video on Firecrawl, or at least mentioned it. Firecrawl turns a website into a markdown file. And of course, as I mentioned, they too have raised a Series A, and I think it was $14.5 million. And the last tool I'll just highlight real quick is text-to-speech. But if you just go through inside the agents directory and see the tools, it's effectively the who's who of the agent economy. Again, why that's so interesting is because a personal agent you create in OpenClaw is now going to have access to a wide cross-section of services that are becoming increasingly more valuable. Moltbook, a very recent product, is a social network for AI agents that just this past week, first week of March or second week of March 2026, has been acquired by Meta. Not to be outdone, in my last video or one of my last few videos, I did a piece on rentahuman.ai, which of course allows agents running an OpenClaw or otherwise to rent a human to take photos, for example. And still yet, Agent Mail provides an inbox for agents. And you can see how OpenClaw kind of allows this economy of companies and services to come about. Well, homies, what's at the heart of OpenClaw? Well, simply put, it's an SDK called PyMono. But a more interesting question, as we see with Moltbook, Rent-A-Human, and Agent Mail, is the entire economy of products that are being built around it. If you like what you saw, if you're interested in software engineering, AI engineering, I cover these topics often on my YouTube channel or on my Twitch, and I would love to hear from you guys. What are you using with your agents? Are you connecting them to Moltbook? If you are, let our agents connect. That's all for now. Give me a sub, give me a like. I appreciate the support. Peace, homies.